Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Jarrett Hurd.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Jarrett Hurd, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We have a great show for you today, and as always, you can catch us on the web at ringsidereporter.com. If you want to call and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. We're going to be here till 8:30 tonight, and we're not going to go past that tonight. I got things to do, so it's a hard out at 8:30 tonight. Today, we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez pulling out of the Triple G fight. Claims he's innocent, so we'll see. Floyd Mayweather says he wants to fight for the UFC. But first, we get started with Showtime Championship Boxing, Jarrett Hurd and Erislandy Lara for the IBF WBA Junior Middleweight Unification. What a fight this was. Jarrett Hurd pressed Lara all night, all through the fight, and eventually caught up to him in the 12th round, knocked Lara down to secure the titles. The final scores were 114-113 for Lara, 114-113 twice for Jarrett Hurd. Hurd is now the IBF and WBA Junior Middleweight Champion. Erislandy fought really well in this fight, man, but I believe that the size and Lara's age played a big role in this fight. My guess would be that Hurd will be facing Charlo next, and I got to give big props to Joe Habib on this. It's like he saw this fight before it happened. Beeb said he's going to press him, and he's going to try to get him out of there late, but his pressure is ultimately going to be the way it goes down, and that's what's going to beat Erislandy. And Beeb, that's exactly how it went down, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm Nostradamus, but, this is the thing. Because I go for the boxer 80% of the time. But there's just something about Jarrett Hurd that just impresses me. Because he's the type of guy where what he does is not pretty, okay? But it's smart. And there is a degree of it being technical if you really think about it, because what is really being technical? Technical is having a game plan and executing that game plan to a T, and being able to inflict that game plan and impose that game plan on your opponent while taking his game plan out of the equation. And that's exactly what happened last night, because Erislandy Lara is an outstanding boxer. No question about it. And you heard it out of Jarrett Hurd's mouth last night that Erislandy Lara is more skilled than me. He has more technical abilities than me. He's a more prototypical technical boxer. He's more of that than I am. But here's the thing. Jarrett Hurd goes into the fight with a plan. The first 5 or 6 rounds, he goes in there with a probing attack. Okay, he's not really throwing hard shots. He's touching to see how you're going to react to what he's doing. And then he's collecting that data, seeing where the openings are going to be later in the fight. So once he sees all that, he may take a few shots in the process, but he rolls the shots. He walks through the shots. He's moving forward and he's just rolling shots and putting himself right back on in the mix, and he's coming forward. And Erislandy Lara is used to, landing those counters. And when he lands those counters, he's used to stopping the guy in his tracks. And by doing that, he has those couple seconds to kind of relax a little bit, or not even relax, but little couple seconds for the breathing room, kind of reset, where he can, not have to move as much, so he can kind of stop for a few seconds, and then he can get back on his bicycle. In this instance with Jarrett Hurd, he would land the shot, but Jarrett Hurd would walk through it, not giving him any time to breathe or have that time to kind of reset or move, or even just those little couple seconds where you don't really have to exert energy. Because you take all those couple of seconds and add them up throughout the course of a 12-round fight, that's a lot of energy. So by forcing him to not have those couple seconds, by walking through the punches, by continuously, pushing him back, whether or not he's landing hard shots or not, he's still touching you. Just by you having to deal with blocking and evading so many of those punches early, that in itself takes energy out of you, number one. Number two, he's still landing shots. They may not be clean. They may not be as clean as Lara's were early on, but they were partially landing.
Hello?
And they were still causing damage. They were still causing damage when they were partially landing, as you could see by Lara's face. So then, let's fast forward to the second half of the fight. So now he saw what he needed to see in the first half, okay? And now he's doing a little bit different things here. Now he's starting to, not throw probing punches. Now he's starting to throw more authoritative punches. He's starting to double and triple the jab. He's starting to, know the left hand is coming. And if you notice, he would bend and dip to his right. And a lot of times that left hand started sailing over the top. So another thing also, too, is when he comes inside, he always, like I said, will throw a lot of punches. It's like you throw that plate that's big enough against the wall, and some of it's going to stick. Not all of it. Some of it's going to slide down, but some of it's going to stick. A few strands are going to stick. That's Jarrett Hurd in a nutshell, because he will blanket you with punches, and he won't throw them all hard, but he's going to make sure he mixes one hard one in there, and he's also going to make sure that he digs that left hand to the body, whether you block it or not, whether you catch it on the hip, whether you catch it on the elbow. He's still digging that in there, and you're still having your elbow digging into your own hip. So, and you're still getting pushed back. So there is some degree of sophistication. This guy is not like a crude caveman type brawler. With all due respect, he's not Alfredo Angulo. He's not Paul Williams, who just throws a ton of punches just to throw a ton of punches, whether he's in range or not. This is a guy that will throw punches and force you to have to exert a lot of energy to defend, number one. And number two, he'll throw throwaway punches just to see how you're going to react. And he's going to see where the openings are going to be. And he takes advantage of those openings. And if you notice, some of those punches he was throwing, they were kind of like arm punches. And then every now and then he would really dig in with the hook or really step in with the right hand. But even the arm punches still have an effect because they're hurting you. They're not necessarily hurting you, but they will push you back. They will force you to have to block, and they still move the opponent. So sometimes he'll throw a punch, and that punch will push you into range for another punch. And all the while, he's continuously moving forward. So people are saying, oh, well, why did Lara fight the fight he fought? You think Lara went into this fight saying, I'm going to sit there and slug it out with the bigger, taller, younger 6'1", a guy that's probably outweighed me by 15 pounds the night of the fight? You think that was his game plan to go in there and slug with him? No. He had no room to breathe. He was running out of ring to move. This guy was cutting off the ring. He was blanketing him with pressure. And there was nothing that he could do to stop it because the counters were not freezing him. They were not having the effect that he was hoping for. And he would move, but this guy was on him like flies to shit. There was no escape for Erislandy Lara last night. So I laugh when I hear people say, oh, well, he fought the wrong fight. He should have moved more. He couldn't move more. He was getting worn out. He was getting pressured to the point where he just had to say, you know what? The only thing I can do now is stand and fight this guy off me. I can't evade him, so I have to fight him off me. He had no choice. And that's what kind of, I got a little frustrated because a couple people said that to me that I was talking to today via text. And I'm not going to name drop, but a couple people said, oh, Lara fought the wrong fight. No, he was forced to fight the type of fight that he fought. I have never in my life seen Lara that uncomfortable before in a fight in my life. I have never seen him with that sense of anxiety. You could see it in his face. He was uncomfortable going into the second half of the fight. In that 12th round, when that bell rang, he looked like he was done. If there was 20, 30 more seconds left, I think Lara could have stopped him. Whether that means anything or not, woulda, coulda, shoulda, that's fine. But at the end of the day, my hat goes off to Jarrett Hurd, and my hat goes off to Erislandy Lara, because he made a decision that, you know what, I'm going to have to stand and fight this guy. And he fought very valiantly and very bravely. And he put on an outstanding performance last night for the fans. So this was a win-win for everybody. I think Lara can walk away with his head held high, because this was a very competitive fight. It was a good fight on his part. And Jarrett Hurd could walk with his head up high, because I think he beat the best guy in the division last night, in my opinion. So this is a kid with 20 fights, like 50 amateur fights, beating a guy like Erislandy Lara, who is the epitome of what boxing should be. This guy has over 300 fights as an amateur. This guy has taken so many opponents to Cuban school. But you know what? Jarrett Hurd graduated from Cuban school last night, man, with honors. Full props to him. Bring on Jamel Charlo. I'd love to see that fight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an amazing fight, man. I tell you what, and I had Erislandy Lara in there as the guy too. I mean, because his boxing ability and everything like that. I mean, that's a tough out. That's not just and Hurd, I thought, beat him pretty sound. I mean, like I said, I didn't score the fight, but if I had to go back and score it, I would say 7-5, 8-4, somewhere in there. I don't think it was as close as some people were saying it was, in the sense that it was, razor thin, 114, 113, that kind of thing. I thought there was, I thought it was pretty, pretty decisive. Let me go to a Robert here. Now, we just so we noted in the chat that we are having some trouble with Blog Talk. Go figure that one out, because that never happens. We may or may not be able to take calls tonight. This will kind of be our litmus test on whether we can or not. So let me go to Robert here and see if he can hear us. Robert, can you hear me?
Hello?
Robert, can you hear me? It doesn't sound like he can hear me.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, okay.
Nobody.
All right. All right, so he doesn't hear anybody. Hears nothing. And we were testing this prior to the show actually starting. Beeb had called in, Lisa had called in, and then we couldn't have anybody on, and nobody could hear the audio. So you guys in the chat are hearing the audio, so I'm not sure what's going on with Blog Talk. Hey, that's another month for me, I guess. What's funny? What's funny, Beeb, about Blog Talk is they send me all this literature, all the email and stuff like that, saying that they've improved the system, and then we can get, we can do this for you, we can do that for you for an extra fee. Just make my system work. That's all I want. Just focus on
it's frustrating, because this is the type of show where when you have a fight like this, you're going to have so many different opinions, and it would be so nice to have heard everyone's feedback.
Awesome. But we will monitor the chat like we always do. All right. So guys, keep active in the chat. There will be no phone calls tonight. It just is what it is. I mean, you can call in, but you're not going to be able to hear us. I don't even know if you can call in and listen to the show.
Well, have them try to call in just to see. We'll go to them if they can hear us.
If they hear us, they can hear us. But so
try to call in, and we'll see. And we'll play it by ear, guys. We'll see.
Give it a shot. Yeah, give it a shot. So it looks like it's me and Beeb flying solo tonight. All right. So yeah, what were your thoughts? And I didn't realize this before the fight started. I mean, obviously you read the tail of the tape and everything like that. What were your thoughts when you saw these two at the weigh-in? Size difference.
Like I said, I knew beforehand that he was going to tower. He was going to just be gigantic compared to Erislandy Lara. He had, at the very minimum, he had to have weighed at least 170 pounds last night, at least, and maybe even more, because he's 6'1". You know what I'm saying? And
right.
He had to have weighed bare minimum 170, probably closer to 175. Erislandy Lara probably rehydrates to like 160 pounds. He doesn't put on a lot of weight.
No.
So he had a huge size advantage. But here's the thing, too. A lot of people do have big size advantages over their opponents, but they don't really know how to use them. Like Antonio Margarito was never really he was a big guy, right? Paul Williams, another pretty big guy obviously really big guy for a welterweight when he fought at welterweight, right? But those guys weren't really physical fighters. You could see last night Jarrett Hurd was very effective in using his size. You know what I'm saying? And, just pushing, when you're pushing a guy back, it takes a lot more energy when you're being forced backward. It takes a lot more energy out of you if you're being forced backward as opposed to if you're moving forward, because you have momentum when you're moving forward. When you're being pushed backward, you're struggling and fighting to keep your balance and stay stationary. You're fighting for position, whereas the guy that's moving forward is forcing you back. He's in charge. So you're sitting there struggling to not be forced backward, and you have to deal with that guy's momentum, and you're in an unnatural, awkward position. So that takes a lot of energy out of you. So all these things that people, the little nuances of an aggressive fighter, a physical fighter, people don't take those things into account, and those things drain an opponent. And Erislandy Lara was worn down last night. This was a guy that was probably the strongest guy physically he's ever been in the ring with, and he was able to take full advantage of that size and strength that he had over Erislandy Lara, in my opinion.
Right. I tell you, what do you make of him? And I'm assuming Charlo is going to be next. I don't think Charlo is going to have any trouble with Centeno. What do you think of that fight with him and Charlo?
With Hurd and Charlo, if they were to fight?
Yeah.
I would still favor Hurd, because I'll tell you why. Charlo's not as slick as Lara. I think Lara's a better fighter than Charlo. I would pick Lara over Jamal Charlo right now, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think that Hurd beat the best guy in the division last night. I really do. And Charlo, I have all the respect in the world for him. I think he's a very good fighter as well. But the problem with him is I think that he stands and trades a lot. I think he's believes in his power now. I'm not so sure that he could deal with the physicality of Jarrett Hurd. And it would be interesting to see, when he lands his Sunday punch, and if nothing happens, what does he do? What's his plan B? So,
yeah. All right, let's go back to the phones here. I see Georgie's online. Let me see if he can hear me. If not, we'll have to chalk up Blog Talk again. Let's see here. Georgie, can you hear me? You can hear him listening to it. Georgie, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? If you can hear me, say something on the show. Say that you can hear me.
I can hear you, Georgie.
I can hear you in the show, but can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I know you. So if you can hear me, let me just say what I'm gonna say.
Okay, turn your radio down, Georgie.
I move along. I try to make it brief so other people can call. So you can call, but we cannot interact. So I guess I'm just gonna be talking about myself. I just want to make a couple points really clear. I would like to say to Beeb that his breakdown was phenomenal. Phenomenal, buddy. You couldn't call that shit any better. I thought Lara had enough experience to keep this man at bay, but it's just that size different, bro. I don't know how the fuck her make them 154 pounds. It's crazy. This dude look on the TV. He looked like he was like at least 3 size difference. Like he was at 168. It's just I don't know, man. When people talk about weight bully, that's an example. I'm not gonna say Hurd is cheating, because if you can make the weight, obviously you belong there. But man, it's just too much. This dude is just too big for that weight division. 154, he's gonna whip everybody, and without great skills, because he's doing nothing out of this world besides pressure. I don't see no fireworks. I don't see nothing besides size. Pretty much that's my call. I'm gonna make it brief, because I know you guys gotta go, and everybody out there listening, support the show, giving it a thumb up, and I'm outie.
All right. Thank you very much, Georgie. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, and he's got a good point. You can call and give your 2 cents and everything like that. We just can't interact with you. Okay. So if you got to take, definitely feel free to call and that kind of thing. Before we go back to the phones, let's talk about real quick here. Caleb Truax and James DeGale. Scores here were 117, 110, and 114, 113 twice for James DeGale. As he wins back the IBF super middleweight title that he lost last year to Truax. Now, I wasn't scoring the fight, so I can't really give you my score, but I thought Truax won the fight, and I thought he won it pretty clear. After seeing DeGale in his last couple fights, man, I think he's on the slide. Beeb, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I had it even in rounds, but because the point was taken away, I had Truax winning. I could see 7-5. For Truax, or maybe 6-6. I'll be honest, I had a hard time seeing DeGale win this one. I thought that regardless, even though the cut was bothering him, Truax was still in that right hand. Truax was still pushing him back. Truax was still in body shots. Truax was still more effective on the inside. Obviously, he wasn't as effective as he was in the first fight, but this was supposedly the best James DeGale that we were ever going to see, according to him. He was at his best. He was 110% physically fit for this fight. No injuries. But, I think his legs are starting to slow down a little bit. I think that he's got some miles on him. He's been in some tough fights as of late. And I think it's taken its toll on him. Because a guy like Truax, with all due respect, he's a very good fighter in his own right. But he is not supposed to be able to get in a guy like James DeGale's chest and stay there and trap him and maneuver him and force him back and have his way with him the way he did. You could say whatever you want, but in terms of ring generalship, I thought Caleb Truax was fighting the fight that he wanted to fight. And DeGale was, once again, he looked uncomfortable, as Erislandy Lara did, probably not to the same extent, but he was another guy who was taken out of his comfort zone. And Truax did that. Now, Truax, admittedly wasn't as sharp as he was in the first fight, but it was still enough, I thought, to win this fight. And I thought I was kind of generous to James DeGale in this fight. I tried to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because I didn't want to seem biased. But I thought Truax won this fight. I gave as many swing rounds to DeGale as I could. If I wanted to take those swing rounds and throw them the other way, then Truax clearly won the fight. But still think he won the fight. I was still more impressed with him as opposed to James DeGale. And I don't know what James DeGale is going to do moving forward, because I think a lot of these guys are going to beat him. I think that Gilberto Ramirez beats him. I think Benavidez beats him. I think that even George Groves beats him right now. I don't know, who he can beat right now in this division. I think that he's catching shots really flush now. If you watch the right hands he's catching, his head's getting really forced back, and it's kind of shifting from side to side. It's like it's on a swivel. He's catching these shots really flush, and his head is snapping back, and you can tell that brain is temporarily dislodging from that brainstem, because you can see his eyes kind of roll back in his head when he's getting hit with these shots now. Whereas before, he was seeing the shots coming, and he was able to roll most of them. He's not rolling these shots anymore. He's catching these shots dead on flush. He's not even able to brace himself for these shots anymore. So I think he's losing a step right now. And he's got to be careful moving forward. I don't like to see a guy catch shots that flush. And his face is starting to bust up now every fight as well. Regardless if it's a headbutt or not, it's still scarred tissue and scar damage in the facial area that could be problematic in fights moving forward. So, I think he's starting to become a little shop-worn. I hate to say it, but I mean no disrespect in that. I still like James DeGale as a fighter a lot. He's given us many great performances, but I think he may be on the downside. I agree with you 100%, Eric.
Let me ask you a question, just to be fair and play devil's advocate here for a
Sure.
minute. Is it, because I know my feelings on it, and you know my feelings on James DeGale. But to be fair, is Caleb Truax kind of like that guy? Yeah, everybody's got that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody's got that style that's a perfect foil for the other style. Is Caleb Truax to James DeGale, or is this just James DeGale on the slide?
I'm going to say it's James. A little bit of both. A little bit of both. And I'll tell you why. Because if you looked at Caleb Truax, he did a lot of similar things that Badu Jack was able to do. So I think that DeGale is going to have problems with guys who can apply constant pressure, and guys who really get down low and catch shots high on the head and can keep moving forward, and guys who can really work on the inside. Because Badu Jack has great success fighting a similar type fight. So I think that Badu Jack may have laid the blueprint, and I think Caleb Truax took that blueprint and kind of carried the ball. He picked up the ball from Badu Jack and carried it to the goalpost. I think that he followed that blueprint to a T, to as good as he could with his abilities. I don't think he has the same physical abilities as a Badu Jack. I don't think he hits as hard. He's not as quick and as explosive, and not as good as a combination puncher, fluid combination puncher as Badu Jack. But he fought the fight similarly in the sense that he made sure he tried to take the space away. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't see him beating. I don't see him beating anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody of any substance.
And Jason made a great point in the chat. He didn't even look great against Porky Medina either.
No, he really didn't.
So that's another guy. Once again, pressure inside fighter. I think if you take the space away from him, he doesn't do well. He needs that space.
Yeah. How difficult is it? And you can speak to this as well. And especially if you've ever sparred, just give them an idea of how tough it is to deal with that pressure. When you're in there with a pressure fighter and you're hitting him and he's just coming forward, how difficult is it, and how much of your gas tank runs out against that guy?
The reason why it's so difficult is because it's twofold. Because he's making you exert a lot of energy, as I said, not to sound redundant, by having to constantly defend yourself. Okay? And also the mental stress of having to deal with the pressure, and also the mental stress and being mentally debilitated, knowing that whatever you're doing is not working. I'm doing everything, playing A, B, C, D, and I can't stop this guy. And when you're under that mental pressure, that duress, you exert a lot of adrenaline, a lot of cortisol flowing through your body. And those are when adrenaline can be your best friend or your worst enemy. If you get that adrenaline rush and you're like, yeah, you're not feeling anything and you're going forward, that's great. But if you release too much adrenaline, you overexert your adrenal glands and your cortisol and all that, and you just become fatigued mentally. And when you become fatigued mentally, that in itself will also fatigue you physically. On top of his physical work wearing you down as well. So you're getting kind of a double whammy, okay? Because it's not just physical, it's mental, and eventually the mental does turn into physical. So yeah, it's horrible when you're in there with somebody, and no matter what you do, there's nothing you can do to stop them from doing what they want to you. It's really a horrible feeling. There's no other way of describing it. It's probably one of the worst feelings in the world.
It is, isn't it?
It's like a kid when you're a kid and you want something and you can't have it. That's the worst feeling in the world. You're in that ring, you want to do something, and this guy is not allowing you to do it. That's the thing about with Lara. He was not allowed to do what he wanted to do. No. It's not that he chose not to do it. It's not like he chose. Guys don't go in there. If any fighter in the world, if they have the ability to dance around you in circles and not get touched, They're going to do that. No one wants to get punched in the face. No one's going to say, hey, man, let's make this an exciting fight. Yeah, I'm going to walk out of here with a broken eye socket. My nose is going to be halfway across my face. And we're going to go rock 'em, sock 'em robots just so we can make this fight interesting for the fans. No fighter does that. And fighters that say they do that, the only reason why they say they do that is because they don't have the ability to not do that. You see what I'm saying? 100%. That's why. So Lara did not go into this fight last night saying, hey, man, I'm going to be friggin' Rocky. That's bullshit. That is bullshit.
And, you know, guys like Pernell Whitaker, guys like Floyd Mayweather, when they fight on the back foot for like virtually like 95% of the fight, you know, and still end up winning. Yes. I mean, that's just, I mean, you have no idea how much gas that takes to do and how much cardio and how in shape you have to be to fight off the back foot for the entire fight like that. It's amazing.
But this is the difference. Those guys plant themselves. Like Floyd Mayweather plants himself, and then he has learned, well, he always had this ability, but he just really tapped into it more so later in his career by making subtle defensive moves without exerting a lot of energy. Guys like Hopkins, guys like James Toney, guys like Floyd Mayweather, guys who could stand, Pernell Whitaker, guys who can stand in the pocket, plant themselves, and just make you miss by inches. Boom, 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 boom. Making a little turning shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you have a guy like Lara, and even Andre Durrell's another one, guys who, and Amir Khan, guys who have to use their legs to take themselves out of danger. Guys who can't plant. Because once you plant and you're sitting there and you're, you know, rolling, catching, shouldering, bum, 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 bum. Hopkins used to do that. Get low, tuck his chin. Guys who can do that and make you exert the energy and catch all your shots, but don't have to really exert a lot of energy in doing that. That's a different ball game than Lara, because Lara has to use his legs. But not only that, when Lara takes himself out of harm's way by using his legs, in order to get back into the mix where he can start flowing with his offense, he's got to come right back in, and that takes the energy. So when you're sitting there in the pocket, slipping, sliding, catching, you can catch, shoot, catch, shoot, catch, you know, shoot, dip up, you know, and all that is done with little subtle movements, making your opponent miss by inches, and then you're right there after he misses by inches where you can make the guy pay. Guys who use their legs can't do that because then they have to go back in and reset, and that takes energy. So it takes energy to come out, then it takes energy to come back in. And when you get older, there's no way you can sustain that fighting style in your mid to late 30s going into your early 40s. It's impossible. No fighter with that style has ever been successful. A la Roy Jones, another guy, in and out. A la David Haye. Didn't work against Tony Bellew. Why? Because the legs are the first thing to go. So you got to have a style that transcends into your later years. You have to be able to be effective with exerting the least amount of energy possible. You got to be able to pace yourself. These guys can't. They have to they're constantly fighting a fight on their feet, on their toes, constantly moving. And that's not going to serve you well for an older fighter.
Got it. Julian Williams versus Nathaniel Gallimore, IBF Junior Middleweight Eliminator. Julian Williams won a majority decision over Gallimore by the scores of 117-110, 116-112, and 114-114. Not much to say, honestly. Julian Williams has not been the same since the knockout loss to Charlo. I think he'll be relegated to a gatekeeper status in this division, quite honestly. I don't see him. I mean, he'll get a title shot, don't get me wrong, but he'll never have a title run. It's just not I don't think it's in the cards for him. B, what were your thoughts on him?
I thought he did good against this guy. I thought that he won this fight 9-3. But again, he doesn't have that it factor. He still can be touched a little bit. I do love how he fights inside, and I will say he does have a little bit of what I described. He has that little bit of craftiness on the inside, dip, body shot, and he's catching, drops down and things of that nature. But I don't think he's incredibly durable. I don't think he's really durable. I think he can be, hit and hurt. Because even last night he got hit with a couple of good shots in some of the middle rounds. I think let's pull up my scorecard real quick because this fight was somewhat competitive, and then he just pulled away late. I think Gallimore, yeah. So I gave Gallimore 4, 5, and 6. But what I did notice in 4, 5, and 6 is he was able to kind of muscle Julian Williams a little bit. But the thing was this: I think he faded. And Julian Williams took full advantage of the opportunity of seeing him fade a little bit. So I think if Julian Williams is pressed, I think Jarrett Hurd would really have a field day with Julian Williams because I just think if you force Julian Williams to fight a real fast-paced fight, and he'll trade with you. And the problem with that is he's not the most durable guy in the world. He's been rocked before. He was hurt in this fight a couple of times. And he was lucky that Gallimore just didn't have the stamina and conditioning to sustain that attack and sustain the pressure that he was able to put on in those middle rounds, because he faded badly, Gallimore. He really did. He wasn't used to really going 12 rounds, and I think it showed last night. But Julian Williams can fight, but I think he's got some physical liabilities. I think he's not the most durable guy in the world. And I don't think he has the greatest stamina in the world either.
Yeah, I would go along with that. Let's talk about Sergio Mora versus Alfredo Angulo. 8 rounds, super middleweights. Sergio Mora, yeah, he's still around. Alfredo Angulo, still around too. Mora won a split decision over Angulo by the scores of 78-74, twice for Sergio Mora, and 77-75 for Angulo. I didn't catch it. I heard that Mora won about the first 4 rounds, and then Angulo started to connect and started to get going. Again, this fight was only 8 rounds. I don't know why. Not 100% sure why it was only 8 rounds, but thankfully that's all it was. From Indiana last night at the Grand Victoria Casino, Tyler McCreary versus Gustavo Molina. Ohio's own Tyler McCreary scored a second-round knockout over Gustavo Molina in Indiana this weekend. McCreary is a really good prospect from, I believe it's Cleveland or Toledo. Maybe it's Cleveland. It's one of those. He's from the northern Ohio area. Very good prospect, and you'll be seeing a lot of him pretty soon. So hopefully that goes through. All right, so let's try to go back to the phones here. Again, you can interact. We cannot interact with you, but you can say whatever it is you're going to say. We're going to go now to Al Heyman's Towel Boy, Jason, in the 706. You're live.
Very good prospects,
and don't forget to turn your show down.
All right, so let's try to go back to the phones here.
This is so odd.
I'll tell them to turn the show down.
Right.
What's going on, guys?
What's
you
up?
Better stop bashing Al Heyman and thank him for the fucking great card he put on last night, Eric.
Did you?
Yeah, he put out.
We can't irritate. We can't hear you.
You should be thanking him for the amazing card last night. What are you fucking talking about? Bashing Al Heyman? Jesus Christ! Even after a great last night like last night, you have no shame, Eric. The fucking top ranked Carol must be fucking strong as hell. This sucks, man. It's kind of weird without interaction. I don't even know what to
Just go on a rant. Just go on a rant.
It could have been a draw. Like I thought both guys fought really hard. I wanted both the guys to go home with their belts. I wouldn't have minded a rematch either. A lot of people were saying 1 point off, 1 point for Lara, or 1 point for Hurd. I wouldn't have minded a draw. But all right, that's my call. I'll just call next time. We'll talk about this next time. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for calling in, Jason. It's not that easy, is it, Beeb, to just go on a rant, right?
No,
it ain't that easy. Not every
I gotta. We have the Skype button set up on our blog talk.
You know what? I looked for it. I went to the channel. I went to the blog talk and looked for it, and I couldn't see it on there.
So we need to contact them and see if we can get Skype set up.
Now Georgie said he called into another blog talk show and it's fine. That does, and just so you guys know, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It doesn't mean we're not having problems. It's not like Blog Talk has like one server that they go off of.
We all have different numbers.
Multiple nodes, multiple servers. Yeah, it goes deep. So Yeah, I mean, just because another channel's working doesn't mean ours isn't.
Let's do some research. See if we can see what we have to do to get the Skype button. I thought that was automatic that we get the Skype button.
I thought so too. But it could be I didn't see it. If you want, go to Blog Talk real quick and see if you see it. I'm going to go to the list of next week's fights.
Okay.
And I don't have my savant, man. I don't have Robert with me to tell me what day it is. So I'm just going to give you the date.
No, I'll pop open the calendar.
Look at you, man. Look at
you.
Look at Beeb, the team player.
I got to step it up.
That's it. Yeah, I've been saying that for months now. All right, let's go to April 12th. That's a Tuesday, Beeb? Is that right?
That's a Thursday. April 12th is a Thursday.
And I tell you what, for all those people out there, for all you people out there who said there was no real good fights coming up this week, 2 words for you. Rod Salka, son. Rod Salka versus Francisco Vargas, 10 rounds, ESPN2, junior lightweights. Beeb, is that not the fight of the year?
Oh, yes.
Are you not entertained?
I'm DVRing it.
Holla. There it is. April 13th. So the Friday on Fox Sports 1's Jamal James versus Abel Ramos, 10 rounds welterweights. Edner Cherry versus Dennis Galarza. Is this a Golden Boy card?
Galarza?
Abel Ramos, Jamal James, Dennis Galarza, Edner Cherry.
Wow. That may be a Golden Boy card.
That has to be a Golden Boy card.
I'll have to double check that.
That's got to be a Golden Boy card. Who else is going to put that on?
I don't even know how many fighters Golden Boy has anymore.
Well, if you go by, they just have Canelo. That's it. That's all they promote. He doesn't even promote his boy anymore. His, did you hear his son? Incidentally, before I go back here, did you hear about Oscar's son? My dad watches like novellas all the time, so he watches all the Spanish channels. He was saying that Oscar's son was going to start boxing, and they were going to do a reality show and everything, like all the way leading into his first pro fight.
Devin?
Maybe. I don't know what his name was.
Yeah.
So the kid starts training and everything like that. And apparently he blows off training. He's not even training anymore. He just blew off the whole show. They tried to like schedule appointments with him and get him on TV. And
wow.
How embarrassing is that, man?
That sucks.
Yeah, right. And then April 15th, that's a Saturday, right?
April 15th is a Sunday.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's nothing on Saturday. April 15th on ESPN2 from Japan, Yokohama, Japan. Ryota Murata versus Emmanuel Blandamura, easy for me to say, for the WBA regular middleweight title. And that's it for next week. I mean, so we don't have a lot except for the Rod Salka fight, which I'm looking forward to. I don't know of anybody that's not looking forward to that. That's a PBC. Jason just said that's a PBC card. No wonder it's a lousy card.
Sorry. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, Jason, for letting us know.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Jason. He sends me news all the. I love Jason, man. He sends me news every day. He sends me videos every day. He's awesome. He really is. I make a lot of fun of Jason, but he's a good guy. He really is.
Well, just to let you know, Jason, I unblocked you on Facebook, so you can send me that stuff again if you want to. I mean,
wow, that's cold-blooded, man. You blocked him on Facebook.
I feel bad that I did, but he's just.
Oh, that's cold.
He was just spamming me too much one day, and I got sick.
Beeb's a cold fish, man.
I know.
What a cold-blooded guy. Wow. All right, let's go to our news and rumors here. The big news this week, Canelo Alvarez withdraws from the Triple G fight. Everybody kind of saw this coming. Canelo Alvarez withdrew from his scheduled May 5th rematch with Gennady Golovkin on Tuesday in the wake of 2 positive doping tests in anticipation for a ban from the NASC. Alvarez expressed his frustration at the situation, but accepted that the withdrawal was necessary. Quote, at the conference, he said, I am sad and feel powerless that this fight cannot happen right now. I have nothing to hide. I will be transparent in this process. I will do whatever I need to do to demonstrate I have never deliberately taken this substance. I've always operated as a clean fighter. I've always taken clean substances. I respect the sport unconditionally and would never do anything to tarnish something I've worked so hard for and given so many sacrifices for. It saddens me that people accusing me of doing something improper. From here on out, I will take increased precautions to ensure this will never happen again. I am ready for what comes in the future. Huh. Okay, so let me get this straight. So you pull out of the fight, said that, you pulled out, but you say you're completely innocent. You've tested positive twice, 2 different tests, but you're completely innocent from this. I don't get it. Beeb, why did he pull out if he was innocent?
I think that they felt as though the suspension was inevitable. So instead of dragging it out, they just cut their losses. That's what I think.
Yeah, that could be too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I think he's guilty. I've always thought he was guilty. And now fighters, are coming out saying that, they think he was on something when they fought. I've heard a couple of different fighters come out and say that they thought he was on something. But I tell you what, I mean, I don't know, why, if you're that clean, why not try to fight this? Why not try to clear your name here?
But here's the thing. I think the general consensus out there, whether this is fair or not, they thought he took the stuff. They thought he legitimately failed these tests, and they weren't buying the tainted meat story. And I think they felt that with the public backlash, as well as what the Nevada State Athletic Commission was doing, I felt like they thought that they couldn't win this one, regardless. It's almost like taking a plea when even though you're innocent, but you can't prove that you're innocent because the evidence against you is just so overwhelming, and you don't have any evidence to kind of go against or counteract that evidence that's being put forth towards you. So I think regardless, I think he was he felt as though he was going to be perceived as being guilty, even no matter what he said or did. That was that. But they didn't offer up anything, and I don't know what's going to happen at the hearing. I know the hearing is going to be possibly just to determine how long the suspension is going to be. But what evidence are they going to bring forward? Like the soccer team, I keep bringing up the soccer team. They did a thorough investigation. The soccer team provided them, the receipts of where they ate the meat, and they went there and they checked the meat. Like, what is he actually doing to support his innocence, or defend himself to prove his innocence, I should say? What is he doing? Are we just supposed to take your word for it without you having to provide anything to show us that you're innocent? The people need to see something. It's not fair to Triple G to be asked to just take your word for it. It's not fair to anyone to just say, "Hey, you gotta take your word for it." It's like doing your taxes. And you just call them up and say, "Yeah, I don't owe anything this year. Just give me a refund of $500." No, you got to provide your tax return. You have to show them what you made, what your deductions were. No one just does anything on basically the goodwill of someone's word. You have to prove that you're innocent. What are you doing to prove it? Where's the evidence? Where's the receipts? Where'd you eat? What did you buy? And that's the thing.
That's it. I mean, and you brought up a good point. He's brought forward zero evidence.
Nothing.
Zero.
Nothing.
Not one. Nothing.
Like, instead of saying, like, at least other athletes have said, this is the supplement I took. This, it was in this supplement, blah, blah, blah. Provide the bottle, show them the lot number on the bottle. So at least that batch can be inspected.
Yep.
This guy is just supposed to expect everyone to accept his word, and that's it. That's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, well, I ate some meat. Okay, well, that should be good enough. That's not good enough, because you knew the ramifications if you had, you know what I mean? You knew. So, I mean, like I said, man, to offer up zero evidence, zero anything, and just say he's innocent. Oh, okay. Yeah, we believe you. Yeah, it's just like you said with the tax return. You know, yeah, you guys owe me $500. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll just give it to you. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Don't fill anything out.
What about the Nevada Athletic Commission though? I mean, they canceled. They're going to cancel this fight. I mean, he wouldn't have withdrew if the fight was going on. Let's put it that way. We know that.
Yeah, there was no way this fight was going to go on. I mean, obviously.
I mean, did they do? I mean, they did. To me, they did the right thing. But were you shocked that they did the right thing?
Honestly, I have to unfortunately say that I was shocked.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing when you have to say, yeah, I'm shocked that someone actually did the right thing. You know, it's pretty sad when I have such little faith in supposedly one of the greatest sports commissions in the world.
Yeah.
I just can never seem to get it right.
It's horrible. It's horrible. But there is a silver lining for Canelo, Beeb. There is a very good silver lining for Canelo. PETA has invited Canelo to become a vegan now. PETA wrote an open letter to Canelo Alvarez and invited him to become a vegan. The letter went on to state the benefits of being vegan for athletes. If Canelo becomes a vegan, this is my question, how will he have a scapegoat for his clenbuterol usage? I don't know.
I know.
Beeb, what do you think of Canelo? You think he becomes vegan?
No, absolutely not. I don't see it.
Just you. Just Beeb's vegan. That's about it. That's the only vegan I know.
I'm vegan for like 10 minutes. I'm vegan for 10 minutes when I wake up in the morning and I drink a friggin' Coke Zero.
I know.
That's vegan, right?
That's right. I'm hoping anyway. Yeah, I'm vegan between meals. That's what you know.
I will say, way back when I was like a vegetarian.
Yeah.
For 5 years, and I, oh my God, I noticed a big difference. I gotta have meat.
Yeah.
I gotta have meat. And a Jason smoothies for breakfast.
Smoothies.
Get out of here, you earthy crunchy. You were freaking
green smoothie. He eats green smoothies for breakfast.
You yuppie.
All right, so this left us with an interesting thing here. Because Tom Loeffler came out after Canelo pulled out and everything like that. Tom Loeffler came out and said Triple G's still going to fight on May 5th in Las Vegas.
Why?
That's kind of where I was. I mean, that's pretty big, to fill up with. That's a pretty big card to fill up with just Canelo out, on Cinco de Mayo. So, he told everybody, if you have tickets and you're coming to see Triple G, he will fight that day. He will fight on May 5th. And, just come and see him. So who is he going to fight?
I have no idea.
Jamie Munguia, who was the front runner, him and Spike O'Sullivan. Jamie Munguia was refused as Triple G's next opponent by the NASC. The Nevada State Athletic Commission, right? He's 24-20, 20 knockouts, 24 wins, 20 knockouts. Supposed to be a pretty good prospect, but I agree with Joe Lopez in the chat. Just said that Munguia is not a good look for Triple G. I agree with him. It's not a his record is he's got a really good record, but it's not this is not a Triple G opponent. You know what I mean? This is not somebody I would expect him.
It's not
even on a short notice kind of thing. But for the NASC to draw a line in the sand and say no, they've denied Jamie Munguia a chance to fight Triple G. Munguia's unbeaten, and this is actually saying a lot because this is the same commission that sanctioned Mayweather against a first-time boxer in his 50th pro fight.
And the excuse they used for Munguia not getting there's a couple of reasons they brought forth, but he's never fought a 12-round fight before, and he has limited opposition. Could that not be applied to Conor McGregor as well?
You think?
How many times? Yeah, I mean,
never stepped foot in a boxing ring.
How many mismatches has this commission signed off on before in the past? And now all of a sudden they have a moral compass.
Right. Yeah,
Please.
Exactly.
Please.
Yeah. Now I don't know, and this has been floating around too. Now I don't know, and I've not seen any confirmation on it that it's floating around. A lot of people are saying this fight is going to be on pay-per-view, whoever he fights.
Oh,
I have not heard that.
Christ. I have not heard that either. And if that is true, then that is a travesty.
Right. I have not heard that. I think that, I would hope that Loeffler and the people at HBO know better than to put that fight on pay-per-view. Whoever he fights, it doesn't, barring, somebody really coming in there. So with Jamie Munguia, not the next opponent, that only leaves really Spike O'Sullivan. I mean, it really does. And it makes sense because Spike O'Sullivan is affiliated with Golden Boy, so it kind of makes sense. Not the fight I want to see. I don't think it's a great fight. I think O'Sullivan gets run over. I think he's there just for a beating. But, do we give, if we're going to give Triple G garbage over this, then we had to give Deontay Wilder garbage over fighting, Gerald Washington, which we all agreed we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Because he was supposed to fight Povetkin. Povetkin tested dirty. And, is Triple G's in the same situation. So how can we really give him grief over taking Spike O'Sullivan or Jamie Munguia or whoever? I don't think we can. I really don't. As much as I hate this fight, and I really do hate it.
Oh, absolutely.
Him and Spike O'Sullivan. Nobody wants to see that fight. Nobody wants to. But and then Andrade and Derevyanchenko, those two, they said they want the fight. But just like Tom Loeffler when he was on the show, and I believe there was a lot of truth to this. A lot of people say they want to fight until it becomes time to fight, and then they price themselves out. Well, I want X amount of dollars for it, and try to completely price themselves out and everything like that. So who knows? If there was a name for him to fight, I think he would have fought him. But I just don't, like I said, I don't think the cards are there. Yeah,
it's a tough situation because he's in a lose-lose because it's not going to be a big money fight for him. It's going to be in front of probably a half-filled a half-filled arena. The public's not really going to be interested in it.
No.
So I think the best thing to do would just be to kind of, just take the loss right now. Just say, hey, you know what? Salvage this. Say we're not going to fight May 5th, and then try to put something together for August or September, and with a half decent opponent.
Well, I don't think there's any, and I don't fault him for fighting. He wants to stay busy, so let him fight. I got that. But again, there's no confirmation that this is going to be on pay-per-view, but I hope it's not.
No.
Jason just said in the chat, and how is Triple G ready for Canelo, but not Andrade or Derevyanchenko? Okay, well, it's a different story. Again, we don't know that the fight was not offered to those guys. We don't know that they didn't contact them. We don't know that they contact. Just because you say it on Twitter doesn't, just because you lay down a challenge on Twitter doesn't really mean anything. So it's just one of those things, man. So, we don't know any of the ins and outs, and nobody else does either. They can say whatever they want, but, and again, two different styles. So who knows?
Yeah.
So Mayweather was doing an interview last night. If you guys watched the fights, which I'm sure we did, Mayweather was doing an interview on the show last night, and with Jim Gray, and he said that he wants to come back and fight again in the UFC. He said his weight would be around 145 pounds. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know, because, again, I didn't know where Conor boxing was coming from, but it almost looks like this is a possibility. This is a very real possibility, The weight would be around 145 pounds, he said, because he's, he boxes at welterweight. He can't go much above that. It honestly would behoove him to stay at 145 anyway, if he's going to go that route. The 145, just to let you guys know, the 145-pound champion in the UFC is Max Holloway, who's an absolute killer. All right. The number one contender is Brian Ortega, who's another absolute killer. All right. Neither one is a good option for Mayweather. Some have speculated CM Punk would be a good option. I even threw out CM Punk's name, but because, he doesn't have much experience. But the problem is that CM Punk walks, it weighs in about 170 pounds on fight night, or prior to the day before the fight at the weigh-in. and his fighting weight is around 170, 185, and there's no way he cuts very much below that. You know what I mean? There's absolutely no way he cuts below that. So what are your thoughts? Give me your thoughts on him going to the UFC. Give me your thoughts on this whole thing, because I mean, we all thought Conor McGregor would get murdered in the ring against Floyd Mayweather, and it didn't really work out that way. He gave a better account than what we thought. But what are your thoughts on this, Beeb?
Well, the difference here is Floyd Mayweather is going to be 41 years old, at least, by the time he would have his first MMA fight, number one. Number two, at least Conor McGregor has some type of boxing ability, whereas Floyd Mayweather has no experience at all doing anything else but boxing. So the learning curve for Floyd Mayweather is much greater than it was for Conor McGregor. Now, if he goes in there like, but I know you know who Batista is, the wrestler. He went in there with a guy that was not a top level guy, and he ended up winning the fight. So if Mayweather goes in there and they match him appropriately, then maybe it could be interesting. But if he goes in there with a top level guy, it's just not fair. So it's just like anything else. Like in the sport of boxing, you got to build up a fighter. You'd have to build him up. But does he have the time to get built up? He's 41 years old. It's not like he's going to be able to learn all this stuff overnight. It takes these guys years and years and years. And when I say years and years, I don't mean 3 or 4 years. I mean 10, 15 years of training to get where they are today. Okay, it's not something you can just go down the street and join an MMA gym and say, hey, I'm going to go in the UFC next week. That's not what this is about. And even him saying that 6 months of training or a year of training, that is never going to take you to the level where you need to go to fight these top level guys. No. I mean, again, if they're going to drop a significant amount of money on his lap and they're going to match him appropriately, then it's a good deal for him financially. But I don't know. Is it going to be worth it in the long run? He's 41 years old. Anything can happen. This is a sport where your arm can get broken, your leg can get broken. You can really get hurt in this sport. The fingers are open, so someone can accidentally poke you in the eye. It's not like boxing. Now, boxing obviously is a dangerous sport in its own right, but this is a whole different ball game. And he wants to bring Showtime aboard to whatever deal that he has, but Dana White does not like Steven Espinoza. So how is that going to work? He mentioned wanting to fight in the UFC. Floyd Mayweather did. Dana came out today in an interview and said, I'm not going to work with Steven Espinoza. He can't stand Steven Espinoza. He despises the guy. So how would that work? So there's a lot of moving. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here, and I'm very skeptical about this thing coming to fruition, and I'm not really wouldn't be looking forward to it either. I mean, the guy can do whatever he wants. It's fine. I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't try to, put a petition out there like De La Hoya, and I wouldn't, go out there with my sign and say, hey, don't buy this fight, don't support this fight. I don't care, sure. But I'm just not excited about. I mean, it's not something that I would be overly enthused about. Yeah, I mean, because again, we went back to this. We talked about James Toney going in there. And him getting single leg by Randy Couture within 30 seconds. Now, it's not like Couture is a chump. I mean, Couture is a world-class wrestler, ended up grabbing his ankle, within the first 30 seconds and putting him on his back, and that was game over. He couldn't do anything at that point. I mean, that was the end of the fight right there, I mean, and he pounded him for a few minutes, and then Tony, I think, tapped out to something. But, yeah, I mean, even if you put him in there with a guy who a stand-up guy, I think he has a hard time. The kicks to the stomach, the kicks to the legs. And we were talking about this before the show. You ever been kicked in the leg? It's miserable. It's completely miserable. So, yeah, I don't know, man. But Mayweather did talk about some other news after the whole MMA thing. Apparently, and I've saw this on Twitter. There's some back and forth on Twitter between him and Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis.
Apparently, there's some dissension between Mayweather and Davis again. With this fight, Mayweather may be looking to get the belt off Tank because he has, he wants to fight. I guess he said he was in contact with Todd DeBuff.
Yeah.
And the next fight after Tank Davis wins his fight in a couple weeks, he's going to fight Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko is next for Gervonta Tank Davis.
Good fight.
I think it's a complete walkover. Yeah, I mean it's a good name, but I think it's a complete walkover for Lomachenko.
Oh yeah, I would pick Lomachenko.
Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. That's an absolute no-brainer. And I don't know what the deal is. I mean, does he is him and Davis really that bad? That relationship really that bad where he says, "Hey, I'm gonna feed you to the wolves"?
I don't know.
I mean, because you got to think that Davis is bringing him some money. I mean, he's a champ. You know what I mean? You got to think he's bringing him some money, but he is third on that card. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. And for everybody out there who always trash Lomachenko for not fighting anyone, I think it's pretty ironic that Linares and Davis have no shot to beat Lomachenko, and everyone will admit that. Jorge Linares, Tank Davis, they won't beat Lomachenko, but everyone will admit these two are really good fighters too. Yeah. But Lomachenko doesn't fight anybody. Come on. Yeah.
That's a good point, Aaron.
Yeah. I mean, these are two good fighters. Both of them. Linares, everybody says Linares is a good fighter. Davis is a good fighter. It just is what it is, man.
And then Mikey Garcia said something about how Arum wouldn't allow, he doesn't believe that Arum would allow Lomachenko to fight him. I disagree with that wholeheartedly because Arum works with anybody. If the fight can make money, Arum will help put it together. He will.
Oh, listen, man, if there's money to be made, it's not like these guys aren't going to work with each other.
Lomachenko fought Gary Russell.
Yeah.
All right. Pacquiao fought Mayweather. I mean, these guys have worked together before. And I feel that Arum would have no problem working with Heyman right now. Heyman's an advisor. He's not a promoter anyways. So it's like, it wouldn't hurt him in the least to put Arum, have him promote the show.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? He's still going to get his cut. The fighter's going to get paid. What difference does it make?
Wouldn't bother me. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's what people don't understand. And we hear it all the time with Terrence Crawford and Lomachenko. Bob Arum is favoring one over the other. The only color that matters to Arum is green. That's it. That's the only color that matters to De La Hoya or Al Heyman or Don King or any of these guys. If you can make more, listen, you can't tell me in history that there's been people that these promoters work for that absolutely they hate each other. I hate this promoter. He hates me, but they win. They do business together. They make each other money, and that's it. And that's what it's about.
Absolutely.
Always look past it. When there's money to bet, a lot of money to be made, they always look past it, man.
Yeah.
It's just how it is, man. Beeb, it's time.
I think she's in the tub, so I'm going to have to do it. I'm sorry. No, she's right here. Oh, she's right there. Come on. She's here? Yeah, she's got to hurry up. Just do it from there. I don't want to get arrested.
Chugga, 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 choo choo.
Beautiful.
So good.
Fresh out of the shower with the hair wet and all.
Thank you so much for saving us from Beeb. Because when he does it, it's awful. It's like two pigs mating or something like that.
The Beeb is a train wreck himself when he does it.
Awful. Conor McGregor injures fighters and destroys a UFC bus. We were talking about Mayweather. Mayweather, the guy he called out was Conor McGregor, which is the tie-in here. Conor McGregor was arrested this weekend after attacking. Now listen to this. This is really crazy. This was a really odd thing, man. Conor McGregor was arrested. He attacked a UFC bus filled with fighters. Him and his entourage of about 20 to 30 people were led in the Barclays Center by members of the media, and Conor and his crew immediately went on the attack. As a result, 3 fights on the UFC 223 card were canceled. 2 fighters were injured. One had cuts so bad that he couldn't compete. The other one had glass in his eye. I guess scratched corneas or whatever it is,
Yeah, those are horrible. That's
Conor he threw a dolly that shattered the window that caused all of this. All of this, of course, was caught on video. What a moron! He was arrested, charged with some kind of felony assault, I think.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And what in the world? Yeah, Ray Borg has got his eyes scratched. And Michael Chiesa was the other one that received cuts on his face. Thank you to Amuck PvP in the chat. So yeah, and I heard Rose Namajunas was almost hit. She was in one of the co-main event for the fight. She was almost hit. She ended up walking back to her hotel. So yeah, I mean, what goes on with this guy? It has to be like, and out of his entourage, my favorite part is out of the 20 or 30 people in his entourage that also went down this, nobody, not one person said, hey, this might not be a great idea. Not one said this might not be a great idea. I
mean, this guy's got a woman and child at home too.
Yeah, a brand new baby.
Brand new baby.
And he's going out acting like this. Not to mention, and he's going to get sued beyond belief. Because if I'm Chiesa, if I'm Borg, if I'm just and he also hurt a UFC, I guess some of the UFC workers as well. And they got injured. I think there was one or two of them that got injured. He's just people on the bus trying to do their job, making sure the fighters get to where they need to be.
You had a problem with one person, but
Khabib Nurmagomedov.
But your actions hurt many others, and the guy that you were trying to hurt, you didn't hurt, but you hurt everyone else around him.
Right.
So what was the goal here? I mean, what did you achieve here? Paulie did say something. He said you had a problem with the guy. Confront him by himself. Go to his hotel room or whatever.
Right.
Why you have to, bring everyone else into the fray? Not that I'm advocating that they have a brawl or anything like that, but go face to face with the guy. You talk to him. Why do something like this and involve everyone else that had nothing to do with the situation at all?
Right.
And hurt people. And
Amuck in the chat, Amuck PvP in the chat said that Artem Lobov, who was part of the entourage too, he was part of McGregor. He's McGregor's training partner, stablemate or whatever. He was actually involved in the mob that was for years and everything like that. So Dana White pulled him off the card. So that was 3 fights.
Yeah.
Took this card down from 12 fights to 9 fights. That was 3 fights, 6 fighters.
The UFC should fine him too for that.
They should fire him for that. They're not going to, but they should. But he's going to be fighting. I have a feeling he's going to be fighting his next fight. If he fights again, he's going to be fighting his next fight for free. Because if I'm Chiesa, if I'm Borg, if I'm anybody on that bus, I'm suing him.
Oh, absolutely.
And the UFC should sue him too, because they went from that pay-per-view, that was supposed to have 9. You got all the people that bought tickets for that show who were expecting to see 12 fights and saw 9. It's bad. It's just a bad look for you. And if these guys want to fight Mayweather again in the octagon, good luck with that. Good luck with that. The richest part of last night was when Mayweather discussed the incident, and he said, "Well, I believe that they should conduct themselves, like a champion at all times and with class." Times. Yeah. not beating up your baby's mother over an iPhone or whatever.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Right. They forget quick, man. They forget quick here.
Yeah.
Leo Santa Cruz versus Abner Mares is official for June 9th. I don't know. I don't hate the fight, but I'm not going to go out of my way for the fight. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just kind of okay for me.
Yeah, I don't think the first fight wasn't really competitive, so I have a rematch. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't see. I'm not. Who's out there with unanswered questions about this fight? Realistically, when you got out of that fight, man, we got to see this again. It was awesome. We got to see this again. If he could do better in the rematch, he's not going to do better in the rematch. He's older. He's slower. It's not going to happen for him. Santa Cruz is going to kill this kid again. I know you're really excited for this, Beeb. Manny Pacquiao versus Lucas Matisse set for July 14th. What do you think?
I guess he's promoting the card along with Golden Boy.
Yeah, is Aram not a part of this?
For what I understand, Aram is not a part of this, but Aram, I believe, still is his promoter. But I don't believe that he's a part of this particular show.
Yeah, I'd be real curious to see if this fight ever comes off. Apparently it's set for Malaysia, I guess, on July 4th. I think it's in Malaysia.
Yeah. Well, Arum hasn't stepped in and said that he's going to block the fight from happening. I haven't heard any word on that.
I don't know, man.
So I don't know.
It's not a bad fight per se. I don't.
Well, it's a good fight because both guys are, kind of have teetered down to the same level to some degree. So the fight could be very entertaining.
Yeah, and then somebody, I think Justin Ponce it says, is it going to be on pay-per-view? 100% this fight's on pay-per-view.
No, I think it is on pay-per-view. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% this fight's going to be on pay-per-view.
You know what else I did hear? I heard that Arum is going to help out with the broadcasting, like try to help him get.
Oh, okay.
I heard that this fight actually may be on ESPN.
Oh, wow.
I did hear that Arum is kind of going to try to help him to get the fight. We work with him to try to get the fight, like help out with the television, portion of the deal.
Right.
But he's not actually going to promote the fight. So
I'll
research it more just to confirm it. But I'm almost positive I read that.
Yeah. Okay.
So this fight very likely could be on ESPN.
Well, hopefully it's on ESPN and not on that top-ranked pay-per-view, whatever. Because, like I said, this is not a pay-per-view caliber fight. Very few fights are pay-per-view caliber anymore.
Yeah. Pay-per-view is tough, you know what I mean? I mean, the UFC still is able to do it well, but they're stacking cards top to bottom all the time. So
yeah, for sure.
It's a different ball game.
Speaking of UFC, did you see the July 4th card with Cormier and Stipe Miocic?
Oh, wow. That's going to be phenomenal.
Right?
Yeah. I'm going to buy that. I'll buy that
card too. Yeah. I was going to buy the one last night if Ferguson didn't pull out.
Yeah.
Apparently he got injured and he couldn't. He was supposed to be the main event, him and Khabib, but
Did you were able to still see the fights?
Yeah, I watched them.
How was the Rose fight? Did she win the fight?
Yeah, she won the fight by decision.
But do you think she won the fight? Because that's kind of
I do. I
like
thought
but it was close. It was like 3-2, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. But I thought she won the fight. Yeah, I thought she was able to hit her, man. I mean, Joanna couldn't do anything against her. I mean, she really had a hard time with her. And I think it's one of those things, and we talked about DeGale and Truax earlier.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where she's just got your number, man.
Yeah, it's like Ken Norton to Ali. That was like
right.
Everyone has that there, Ken Norton.
Yeah. Everybody, yeah, exactly. So I think that's it, man. Nama Yunus, man, she's such a good fighter too.
Yeah.
And where does Jędrzejczyk go from here? Where does Joanna go from here? I don't know. I mean, because you can't beat the champion. So where do you?
Yeah, I was happy. I was kind of happy she lost. I don't like her attitude.
Yeah,
it was very off-putting.
Yeah, it was funny after the fight, man. She showed her a lot of love, hugged her, walked around the ring with her hands up and everything with her and everything, and she showed a lot of respect. There was a lot of respect there after that fight.
Yeah, she's got to show respect now. She lost twice.
Yeah, for sure. Once by knockout, the other one by decision. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the main event, Khabib Nurmagomedov, he won. He beat Ali Quinta in a unanimous decision after 5 rounds. And I thought it was pretty clear. I mean, I thought he was winning the fight. Ali Quinta really, he put up a good performance for coming on there in just a few days' notice, just a few hours' notice, basically, for coming in there, making
Did he win any rounds? Did he win any rounds? I
thought he did. Yeah, I thought he won at least one or two.
That's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, and I tell you, Khabib had a lot of problems taking him down. He only took him down a couple times. And Iaquinta did a real good job, man. And Iaquinta's a guy that can get you out of there in any round. He's got a lot of power. And so, it's always good when you see these guys fight somebody good because, you start to say, hey, this guy's unbeatable. Then all of a sudden, he's not unbeatable. This is the chink in his armor, right here. So, yeah.
All right.
So good card, man. But I can't wait for that July 4th card on the.
I'm gonna buy that one. Yeah, I like that main event.
Yeah, Stipe from Ohio's own, baby.
Yeah.
So
that's someone you should really rep really hard because that guy's really good.
Guy's a firefighter. He didn't quit his day job either. He's still the UFC champion, world champion. Got the most title defenses, I think, at 3 in the heavyweight division. and he still works as a fireman. He was at work the next couple of days after he was at work.
Well, it's a good job, a fireman, man.
Fireman, yeah. I mean, but you think about like most guys quit their job and do this.
I know.
I mean,
why are you gonna give up that pension though?
Yeah, there you go.
Probably got better insurance than the UFC would give them.
You're probably right. The UFC, I think they'll cover any medical expenses in a fight. I don't know, like in training or anything, that I don't know, but I know in a fight.
They're not giving you like a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. Forget it.
No, yeah. There's no 401k in there, that's for sure.
At Beeb Industries, we at least give you a choice. We give you a Harvard Pilgrim, or we give you Blue Choice, and we give you Tears. I mean, we take care of our employees at Beeb Industries.
That's right. At the office is a big tower at Beeb. So there you go. All right, guys. Well, I do apologize. I always feel bad when we have issues with Blog Talk, and you guys can't call in and stuff like that. I always feel bad because, you guys are such a big part of the show. I mean, everybody listening to such a big part, and the interactivity is really what kind of drives the show. I mean, it really does. We love talking to you guys every week. We love hearing your and everything. Well, and it's we're bummed when we can't do it. We are going to try to work to fix this issue. We're going to try to work around this issue.
Yeah, I want to see if we can get the Skype button hooked up too and fix everything. Right?
We're going to try to fix it so we don't have to do this anymore. And
I've worked with Blog Talk for years on other podcasts, and this isn't the first time that it's happened.
No, it happens. It seems like it happens all the time.
It happens a lot.
Really does.
Yeah. So.
So what a bummer. But we'll be back next week, hopefully with audio. And hopefully you guys can call in and we can interact and all that other good stuff. But for right now, that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Ringside Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner at 917-259-1810. Leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1. Find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and we will see you next week.
All right. Take care, everybody.